Have you ever looked at your favourite piece of clothing and thought, could I do that? Well, I hate to break it to you, but the answer to that question is yes, you could. If you've never done it before, sewing can seem a little bit intimidating as a hobby. All that paraphernalia, threads everywhere. I don't need a license to operate one of these. But take it from me, it really isn't as scary as it looks. I've been sewing for maybe 3 years now. I'm not particularly talented, and I've still been able to make all sorts, from jeans to suits to whatever this is. So give me a few minutes and I'm going to give you 3 reasons why I sew and why I think you should too. Bespokeness, bespokeosity, whatever you call it. Possibly the most rewarding thing about sewing your own clothes is being able to tweak the garments you make to be yours and just yours. Each of us has a unique body, a particular combination of proportions, a certain posture, often with downright asymmetrical. And the fashion industry, especially in its current fast form, is neither able to accommodate or indeed really interested in accommodating all of this individuality. One size fits all is the MO. And the further you are from the standard ideal, and really most of us are a decent way away from it, the more out of luck you are. And even if you do embody that standard, the clothing that may seem to fit you better than everyone else around you will still be compromised in such a way that it can sort of fit the other people on either side of you on that spectrum. It could still fit you better. Now, sewing your own clothes can change all that pretty much instantly. Sure, there's a learning curve to figuring out how to work with your own measurements, but chances are there'll already be 1 or 2 things you can do in the very earliest stages that will already make a pretty big difference. Me, I have a flat bum and my hips jut forward, so all my life I've been wearing trousers that are just baggy and diaper-esque around my tush. Didn't know any other way to live. And then I started sewing and it turned out that 90% or so of what I had to do was literally just take them in on the back seam, a matter of about 2 minutes at the sewing machine. And beyond just fit, there's also the bespokeness of style, of fabric, really just about any aspect you could think of. You want apple bottom leopard print jeans with built-in cup holders? Who's gonna stop you? I know. The endless abundance of fast fashion may seem to promise all the variety we need, both in style and in fit, but it's an empty promise. A promise. Speaking of fast fashion, now we know that the way fashion works today is just not sustainable, and in more ways than one. Obviously there's the environmental impact, endless piles of basically new, old clothes ending up on landfills, most of them made from non-biodegradable synthetic fabrics. And then there's the human costs of producing those fabrics, those clothes. In truth, I think we've pretty much resigned ourselves now to the fact that a lot of what we wear is made, if not in literal sweatshops, then certainly in conditions that we ourselves would never want to endure. All to meet a rate of turnover that fast fashion has led us to believe is normal, but really is totally disproportionate both to what we need and, I think, what we really want. And if I may be sentimental, self-indulgent for a moment, I just don't think it feels good. I don't know about you, but I tend to feel a little bit gross about putting things to waste. And this is another pitfall that I think sewing your own clothes kind of helps you avoid. Now, while the battle to suppress your insatiable lust for new fabrics is one that many new sewists in particular fail to win, making your own clothes obviously puts you firmly in control of what kind of fabrics you use, where they were made, how they were made, and from what kind of raw materials. And as for the finished garment, well, you won't have to worry about whose blood, sweat and tears went into your snazzy new jorts, because the answer will be, of course, yours. And in this vein, sewing your own clothes also forces you, I think, to adjust the way you relate to individual garments. When you've put the time and energy into putting those jorts together, piece by piece, then you'll really understand the true value of those bad boys. And so it's not just about a more sustainable way of producing clothes, I also think it's a more sustainable way of wearing clothes too. Feels good. Speaking of feeling good, sewing is fun. And as is very important with learning a new skill, I think there's lots of scope with sewing to find just the right balance for you between challenge and reward. The very basics of using a machine, or indeed hand sewing if that's your angle, are pretty attainable. And once you've gotten used to it, you can pick your own onward path from there depending on your interests. And you may find yourself suddenly fascinated by things, whether certain fabrics, certain styles, maybe even historical eras, that you never would have thought you cared about at all in the first place. I found myself pretty quickly drawn to tailoring, for instance, and now it's my entire personality, as this channel attests. And as you'll probably already know, if you've ever made literally anything, music, art, woodwork, knitwear, bread, cake, Lord of the Rings memes, there's really nothing like the sweet satisfaction of beholding something that you have created out of nothing. And while you can probably go a day or two without those Gandalf memes, we as a society, as a species, generally, as a rule, tend to wear clothes every day. So you will never run out of occasions to admire your own handiwork. Now, I could go on forever about the merits of this humble pastime, but I'm sure that by now you're absolutely itching to get tinkering with the old machine in your grandma's attic, and I'll let you go. If this has at all got you thinking about maybe starting to sew, I'd love to hear in the comments, and also what it is that sparked your interest in the first place. And if you do already sew, I'd also love to hear your own personal reasons why you love it so much too. I mean, I assume you love it, right? right? If you already know that you're in the market for more sewing talk, well, then you can subscribe to the channel and be sure not to miss a single silly British word of it. And as for sewing action, well, if you'd like to see me put my money where my mouth is, I'm currently in the midst of sewing my own wedding suit. So why not go and watch me give it a shot? You know best.